Hey guys, Haxor Tech here for another video, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 password managers of 2022. In this video, we're going to be looking at several different options that you may or may not know. We're starting here off with Roboform. Now, as a disclaimer, this video is sponsored by Roboform, but these opinions are all mine. This is my review of their product and the other products you're going to see in this video. But I do want to say thanks to Roboform for sponsoring the video. So starting off with Roboform, if you haven't heard of them, they have a really great product to fill forms like addresses, credit cards, and information like that. I actually have used them for many years for that purpose, but their password manager is a little bit less well known, and we're going to be looking at that product here today. So starting off, if you use the link in the description that I have here, you're going to get a 42% discount. You can see that they have individual, family, and business plans, and you have discounts with my link anywhere from $16 for a year to $69.60 for 5 years. They have a family plan as well. You can see that those are all discounted with my link as well. And then they also have some business plan options. Now, looking at these prices, so right off the bat, price was definitely one of the big advantages for Roboform compared to some of the other options on this list. Some of them are definitely a lot more pricey, so that was one advantage that they had. But if we just look through here, I'm going to look at some of the features that they have on the website here. You can see that we're going to be talking about Roboform everywhere today. So here's some of the features. It is on multiple platforms, so it's on iOS, Android, on your desktop devices. Here's another look at just some of the features that you're going to get. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and dive into the product. We're going to look at the mobile product as well as the desktop interface. So let's go ahead and begin. Pulling up the desktop app here. Here is the Roboform editor, and I wanted to show you this because this is the control interface here where you can go in and add your logins and manage all your content. There's also an extension that you can use for your browser that's going to allow you to fill forms. But just looking at some of the information here, the interface is super simple to manage. And anytime you have something that you want to edit, you can go in here, you can click on the edit button next to one of the passwords or accounts that you want to edit. And you can go in here and you can update or add in your information. I just simply click on this edit icon to edit the content, or click it again to go out of the edit mode. Okay, so there's a couple things you can do in here. So this editor here is mostly for editing the content that you already have. So if I go in here to click on this Roboform option and go to new, I can create a new identity or a safe note or folders from here. We'll just create a new test identity. And you can see that there's a lot of different things that you can create under the identity section here. I can create addresses, credit cards, bank accounts, passports. And the thing that I do really like about the Roboform interface here is that everything's already organized out for you, and you have folders, which not all other services have. Everything is very organized here, and so you can have multiple identities that has everything you need, all of your personal information in here. So here's a sample of all of the information that you can fill in for a credit card or a bank account or a person. And some of the advantages of how complex all of this becomes is because Roboform naturally is able to do a lot with different kinds of forms. So there's a lot that you can do here in the identity section. Now you can create all of this on the mobile app, or you can do this in the desktop editor. One quick thing that I wanted to point out is on the desktop interface, you actually do have the option to create custom fields. You cannot do that yet in the mobile application, but that feature is coming down the line, so something to keep in mind. But for now, there's a ton of different options under the identity section to get all of this kinds of information, all your personal information, and then everything else like logins, you can just do simply in your browser, whether it's mobile or whether it's in the desktop interface. I'm actually going to go ahead and jump into my browser here, and I've got the Firefox add-on installed for Roboform. So here, I've got just a couple of test ones, but if I wanted to go in and sign in to Yahoo, for example, I can go here, type in my email, and click on Next. And here you can see the prompt that you're going to get from Roboform when it wants to store your information. So I can just simply click on the Save option. I'm going to save it under Yahoo. And now when I go in here, it's automatically going to recognize this account. Now from the browser extension, I can click on the dots to the right, and I can edit it from any time in the extension or the desktop interface, delete it, share it, and all of those different features. Another thing I also wanted to show you, which is really cool, is they have multiple different ways you can interact with your content. So again, they have the editor, which is really meant as a desktop tool to do complex editing of your content, as well as creating custom fields and things like that. They have the extension that you can use, and they also have a web interface here. And from the web interface, you can see that I can go ahead and create new logins here as well. So from the login section, I can click on the Add New Login option, and then here I already have a bunch of different services or websites that I can add. So if I wanted to add my Amazon account, I can go ahead and click on that, and it's already got everything set up for Amazon, so I just have to put in my email and password, and then it's going to save that to my account. Alternatively, if it's a website that's not one of the listed options, I can click on Create Your Own, and I can go ahead and put in the URL, my username and password, and click on Save after I give it a name. So we'll just create a test one here, and click on Save. So now I've got my new test one here, but I can also go ahead and just show you what it would look like if I was putting in my Amazon one. And again, click on Save. So it's super easy to add these different logins. But another thing I did want to show you right off the bat here is you'll notice that because I have a weak password in this particular test login, it's going to point those out immediately, and you're going to get this little icon here for any of the different options you have where your password's weak. It's going to prompt you to change that, which is really good because a lot of people do reuse passwords, or they use too simple of passwords that can really get your account hacked or compromise the security of your account. So Roboform is going to point that out anytime that there is an issue detected with your passwords. Another thing that you can do is you can add a two-factor authentication key to any of these logins, but you can also use that on this account as well. There is two-factor authentication available, and that's another thing that was a part of the Roboform platform for password management that I really like. There's a lot of security options that make it a really secure way to store your passwords, especially when we compare it to other password managers that we're going to talk about in this video. Roboform has a ton of security options to keep everything secured. Okay, so just a couple other things. Again, from here, you can, in the web interface, create safe notes, and you can see you can put as much information in here as you like. And then you can interact with your identities that we looked at earlier. Same options here to put in all of the information that you might need for any of these different components, whether it's bank accounts, passports, car information, and things like that. So all of that you can interact with here in the Roboform web interface. Now I did also want to look at the mobile interface. Okay, so here we have the mobile app interface pulled up. And when you log in, you'll be able to use your fingerprint to unlock this or a PIN. Now, it won't let me show that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And so here is my account. This has all of my logins that I've created. So I just wanted to show you what the actual interface here looks like through the mobile app. Now, again, when you're going into different websites on your mobile browser, it's going to allow you to automatically store those. I have all my identities here. And one of the unique things in the actual interface of the mobile app that I like so much is you can see here that what we looked at before on the desktop interface with bank accounts and passports and all of that, it comes up as cards here. And the cool thing is you can remove any of these if you'd like. But here I've got my test credit card, for example, and I can just have all my details for there. An address, I can go in, I can fill that out in the mobile app here. But I like the way it appears here as just a list of cards, and then all I have to do is just click on the drop down here, and I can go through all my different identities. So if I have different people whose identities I have in here, family members, for example, you can do that. You also have this tab option here where I can go in, I can have multiple tabs that I can kind of scroll through. So I like the interface of looking through the identities. You also have a built-in browser, so you can actually browse to all the websites you want to access within Roboform, and that makes it really easy for Roboform to fill in the password for all of those sites that you navigate to. And if I just click on one of my different options here, you can see it's just going to pull up all of the credentials for that particular website. I can edit that here, add in additional content. I can pin any of these to make it easier to access, and I can even create a shortcut on my home screen to this particular credential. So if there's a particular website or service that I use frequently and I want to be able to just access that detail specifically, I can do that. So if I create the shortcut on my home screen, you can see it's going to create, go back to my home screen here, a unique little option here so I can just access the Amazon credential. And look, it takes me right back to that area here, which is really cool. It just jumps right over to my Amazon credential. So you can have as many of those on your home screen as you want for easy access. And again, you have the option to add folders by clicking the plus button here. I can click on folder. And with this, it makes it really easy to categorize everything in whatever number of ways that you want to. You can have folders for different types of services or for different people or whatever you want. So there's tons of options for how you can organize your data in here. You have different views here to sort through. And then under the tools section, I have a password generator here where I can go in and fine tune how I want my passwords to be created. And then I can generate these kinds of passwords, and it does give you a score on how good that password is. I can directly copy that from here and use that when I'm creating my passwords. I always recommend, by the way, not using a password that you create yourself. I always recommend using some sort of a password generator, because if you're using your own passwords, it's a lot easier for attackers to be able to get to them. And never reuse passwords. If you do, if one account is compromised, you're going to compromise your other accounts. Okay, so that's a really cool feature here with the password generator. Your sharing center here, so I can share this with other users, and depending on what plan you have, especially a family plan, it makes it easy to share with your other family members. Security center, so I can see in-depth information about the score of all of the different passwords here that I have for my different accounts. Emergency access, which gives a specific contact access to this information. And then here at the bottom, I have my authenticator, where you can get verification codes for all of your accounts with two-factor authentication. So this is actually a super cool feature that I haven't seen in a lot of password managers. You can actually have your authenticators in Roboform. And so what this does is it allows you to use Roboform as your all-in-one solution for passwords. For example, a lot of the other options you'll see in this video, you're going to usually need something like Authy, or Microsoft has an option to be able to store all of your authentication codes or your authenticators. Here with Roboform, you can have that all in one app, so you can get your password and your authentication code all within the Roboform password app. Okay, guys, that's I know this is a lot of content for Roboform here, but there's so many great features that I wanted to go over in their app, which is why I wanted to start off with them. A really great solution, really great prices. And I personally really like the layout of their app. I like the layout of their web interface. It's super clean. One of my biggest pet peeves with some of the services that are out there, many of them look very clunky. They're not reliable. And if I'm going to use a password manager, I want something that's going to always have my content available. And that's another thing too. Roboform has always been reliable in the time that I've been testing it. I've never had any issues where the service has been down, it's crashed. And you'll see with things like in this video, we're going to talk about Lastpass, who has had compromised situations where their service was breached by an attacker, which compromises the security of your information. Because of the amount of security that goes into Roboform, I have not seen any situations where their information was compromised. So it's more secure, it's cheaper, and it's a very simple but effective interface on all of the different mediums you might access your content. Okay, so that does it for Roboform. Let's look at some of the other options in this video. The next one we're going to talk about here is Dashlane. Now, Dashlane is a service that I've used before. One of the things about Dashlane, I wanted to use them as the next comparison, is because when we compare them to something like Roboform or really any of the other options in this video, Dashlane is definitely one of the more pricey options. You can see here that the starting option here, if we don't go with the free plan, is $6.49 a month. If you do the math, that's almost $78 a year. $78 compared to the $16 that you pay for a year worth of Roboform, or even something like Lastpass that has some cheaper options, or even the free plans with some of the basic password managers. $6.49 for their mid-tier here option. It's pretty expensive compared to some of the other options. Are they worth it? Do they have something that makes them better than the other options? Personally, I don't think that they distinguish themselves really significantly more than other options to warrant the price tag, but they're a very popular option, and the reason I wanted to include them is because I haven't talked about them a lot in some of my other videos, and it's a password manager a lot of people use, so I thought it would be good to cover this just to give you a comparison to how it relates to the other options in the market here. Now, there are some discounts if you go to their yearly plan. For example, here you can see it does go down to $4.99, which is cheaper. It's still more expensive than a lot of the other options that you might be able to find, but it does give you a discount if you're paying by the year. The other thing to consider here is the free plan on Dashlane is very limiting. You only have the option to store up to 50 passwords, and if you have more than 50 passwords, right off the bat, you're not going to be able to use the service. Something like Lastpass, for example, their free plan, it does limit you from being able to use it on multiple devices, but at least there's no limit on how many passwords you can store. Services like Dashlane that limit how many passwords you can store in their free plan, it really makes it an option where you cannot use it as your long-term password manager. If you have a lot of passwords like I do, it's really meant to just give you the option to try it. But ultimately, if this is the service you choose to use, you're going to definitely need to pay for one of the paid options. Okay, so I wanted to show you from the beginning here what it looks like in Dashlane. So here on the left-hand side, we can go straight to our password section. Now, there is one thing that I really do like in Dashlane. There are some unique things here. So one thing that is unique, there is a VPN feature, which a lot of these other password managers do not have the option to include. So that's really cool that it has a VPN, but you can see it's an upgrade feature and it's extra cost. Plus, there's other better VPN options out there, in my opinion, that are more comprehensive. So personally, I don't think that their VPN option is the strongest option. I will have a link in the description to one of the ones that I recommend, which right now, actually, Ivacy VPN is one of my favorite VPN services. I'll throw an affiliate link in the description so you can get that service if you're interested in checking it out. But I did want to just throw out there that it is an available option. Some other things they have in terms of security tools, they have dark web monitoring, which is a unique feature. But again, all of these features you're going to see here, these are all premium features. So you're going to have to pay no matter what for all of these features. Password health, similar to what we saw in Roboform, which once you start having passwords in here, it does give you a very comprehensive view of password health of all of your information. Okay, so let's look at how we would add a password here. If I click on add password, you can see that I can go ahead and click on add your first password as you browse. If I click on something like Netflix, it's going to redirect me to go to the website. But if I want to manually create one, I can go to passwords here and click on add new, and then I can go ahead and enter that information manually here. So I can go ahead and put some information in here. Okay, and click on the save option. But otherwise, just looking at the other things here, again, you can add secure notes, enter some personal information in here, and you can go down and put in your email address, your phone number, company information, and website, payment information. If you have an ID card that you want to add in here, or a passport, or any of those different kinds of credentials, you can add those here. Share your credentials here using the sharing center. So a lot of really good options here. I will also show the mobile app really quick, so let me switch over to that. Okay, so here's the mobile app interface for Dashlane. I've got my passwords, my secure notes. It's a pretty simple interface. I can click on add item, and I can add a password or any of my different kinds of information here. Just choose one of these here, and then I can fill in all my credentials. You can set up two-factor authentication here as well, so just click on the setup option. So it does have a really useful multi-factor authentication option built in as well. Credit card information here. And of course you can add a password manually. Click on add without a website, and then you can manually put in all your information here. You do have a password generator directly in here where I can go in and fine-tune how secure I want my password to be. And then you just click on the use option here, and it'll automatically throw your password in there. And then you just save it by clicking on the checkbox in the top right. Okay, so some other things, if I click on the top left-hand option here, you can see that I can go to my notification center to see important updates. The password generator is available here as well, in addition to when you create that new password, your sharing options, look at password health. Okay, and so here is a feature that I actually think is the biggest selling point of Dashlane. It's called the password changer. Now you can see here I have this for 29 days to try for free. I'm going to jump over to just a quick example so you can see what it does. Okay, so here is a quick screenshot of the Mac interface, and what you can do is you can go in and you can select a group of passwords if they're compatible, if they're services that are compatible with Dashlane, and mass select them and choose to change all of those passwords. Now going back into my app here, you can see that it says password changer. It's a new feature. I have 29 days to try it for free, but I don't have any compatible accounts yet. So what this means is all I have to do is add the password for a compatible account, and then I'll be able to have Dashlane automatically change the passwords for my accounts. So again, for me, even though the product is pretty expensive, this is probably the biggest selling point of Dashlane for me personally. If you have a lot of passwords across different accounts that are reused, for example, this makes it super easy because Dashlane can actually go into those accounts and change the password for you instead of you having to manually go in one by one and changing the password across, say, 100 accounts. So this is actually a very useful and smart feature. If you have a lot of unique passwords for all of your accounts, it might not be something you have to use as often. Because if you want to keep passwords just what they are, if they're safe, they're secured, they're not compromised, it's not something you necessarily need. But again, if you're someone who likes to change your passwords frequently, this is probably the biggest feature of this product. So as far as I'm aware, this is a feature that is fairly exclusive to Dashlane. I haven't found any other password manager that is as complex as this for being able to automatically change passwords for a lot of different accounts. LastPass, for example, does have a similar feature to change a password, but you do have to do it one by one, so you can't just select 100 accounts, for example, and have all those passwords change. So that is definitely a smart and useful feature in Dashlane. And then there's also the dark web monitoring, which is monitoring 24/7 for any kind of personal or financial information being associated with the dark web. So for example, if your social security number has been compromised, someone stole it and is trying to distribute it on the dark web, you're going to get alerts and information there. This is actually something that some insurance companies offer as well. So it's not exclusively available through the Dashlane service, but it is pretty cool that Dashlane offers this feature. And then of course, again, the VPN feature. If you have an account that has this feature, you'll be able to use the VPN directly in the app. And then when you're done using it, you can just manually lock it, or you can fine-tune the settings for how often you want it to lock. Okay, so that's just a quick look at Dashlane, their mobile and their desktop interfaces. And of course, they have an extension that allows you to automatically fill in forms for credentials on different websites and automatically capture the information. For me, Dashlane is a good service, but it is very expensive. Personally, I don't think in terms of look and feel that it looks as nice as some of the other options you'll see on here. Even Roboform, for example, my first option that we went through, I like that you actually see a bigger view of all of the different sites that you have stored here. With Dashlane, you don't really have the option to change the view as much. So it looks okay. You know, obviously it's going to add the logo for different websites that are compatible, but I would say look and feel is okay. It's definitely not superior to any of the other products that we're going to talk about here. And unless you need a feature to automatically change your passwords, again, I do just feel that the pricing here is pretty high compared to the competition. So let's look at the next option here. We're going to jump into LastPass. And again, this is a longer video because I wanted to be fairly detailed on these options here. But we're going to look at all of the features of these products and how they kind of compare. Okay, guys, the next one that we're going to look at here is Lastpass. Now, Lastpass is a service that if you guys have not heard of them, they are probably the most well-known password manager, at least in my opinion, across any of the ones we're going to talk about today. If you've never heard of any of the other password managers, chances are you've probably at least heard of Lastpass. Lastpass is currently owned by LogMeIn. They used to be a standalone company, but LogMeIn purchased them. And since then, there have been some controversial decisions that were made, one of which being to remove the free option where you had the ability to use all of your password management functions across multiple devices. That was always free, but now you can only use it on one device under the free plan. So that was really controversial because if you used the web interface, the desktop interface, but also wanted to access your content on your mobile device, you can no longer do that. So here you can see that when I look at the features, yes, you have unlimited password options, but it's access on one device. So whether that be computer or mobile, you have to choose. You do not have the ability to use on both permanently. So definitely controversial. It makes it a little bit less useful to use the free plan. It definitely almost forces some users to go to the premium plan. Similar to how with Dashlane, you really can't use the free plan permanently unless you just have very few passwords or very few accounts that you're trying to secure. At $3 per month, it's under $40 per year. So it's definitely not the most expensive option. It's certainly cheaper than Dashlane. Even with their yearly discount, Dashlane is significantly more expensive than the premium plan for Lastpass. But there are some other caveats here. Again, one that I mentioned, Lastpass has had compromised situations where their service was compromised, an attacker got in, and we don't know how much information they were able to have access to. So definitely from a security perspective, they are not the most secure. It's a web-based service. So if people do get in and they access any of that information, it could affect the security of your accounts. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is, for me personally, I think I've probably had the most bugs with LastPass of any other service. It's certainly not a bad service, but I've definitely had situations where the app crashed. I've had situations where I could not log in, even times where just the site in general was down. Since LogMeIn took over as well, so this is recent. So there are some caveats, but again, they're somewhere in the middle in terms of pricing, and they're a very well-known service, so I still wanted to cover them. And the purpose of this video is, again, to look at some of these options that are really common, so you're getting a full comparison of features to the big password managers that are out there on the market right now. So once you sign up for the service here, you can see it's going to ask you to install the Lastpass extension. We can go ahead and do that. I'm going to add that to Firefox. And then I just have to accept permissions here, and now I'm logged into my account. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin here. I can click on the Add Your First Password option here. And there's a bunch of different things here. It does have a starter kit, so there's a lot of information here that kind of shows you how to get started and walks you through the process here. And it also gives you 10% off the paid plan when you first start, just as kind of a sales feature here. A couple things to notice here. I talked about the dark web monitoring that Dashlane has. LastPass now has that kind of feature as well if you are interested in that. But let's go ahead and just add a password. So if I click on the little plus button here, you can create folders here as well. But if I click on add password, I can immediately go in here and put in my first password, a name, create my folder, and a quick password, and then I have advanced settings that I can do here as well. You can have it reprompt for your master password every time you access this credential, especially if it's a very secure website or something that's, very sensitive. Then you can definitely increase the security on these particular accounts. You can favorite this particular password, have it auto log you in, and then you can disable autofill here. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this. Okay, so similar to Roboform, I have the option to change the view here of my credentials. I have my extension here that gives me access to all of my data. I can generate passwords from the extension. I can generate passwords from here, and actually it shows you on the side here, it mentions use the password generator. So all I have to do is click in here. You can also do this, I believe, when you're creating a new credential. You can just generate new passwords and fill that in. So again, all of these tools really have some kind of option to generate passwords typically, but definitely the most secure way to handle your credentials. You can add in your notes here if you have secure notes you want to add, addresses, and other kinds of personal information. You just click on the plus button on any of these different sections here, and it gives you the option to fill in all that, those details. Okay, jumping into the mobile application here. So you can see that this is the interface here. I do have the option again to click on this icon in the top right-hand corner. I can look through all of my different folders to see where everything is stored. I can see all of my secure notes and password cards here. If I create a new card here, I'll just create, for example, a payment card. Put some test information in here. I can save that. So I can see all of those. Security here, I can generate passwords, give emergency access. There's some security challenges in here to make sure that you're using secure passwords, and monitor your online security from here as well. Sharing center to share your information, and a built-in browser similar to Roboform. Feature-wise, it's again, there's a lot of similar features across a lot of these different password managers. For me, when I'm considering this password manager, the biggest things to consider is the price. It's not the cheapest option. It's not the most expensive option. They have been known to have issues with their security of the actual content that you're putting in here. So that's another thing to consider when you're using this password manager. And then also, again, if you're looking for a free password manager, you're very limited what you get here compared to some of the options that give you a more full-featured set of options without having to pay a premium price tag. So I think the app is decent. The desktop interface and the extensions, fine as well. It's nothing too special, but it is a very well-known option. And again, I think a lot of people will use this just because it's the one option that they've heard of if they haven't really researched password managers. Next one we're going to talk about here is OnePass, and you can see here with pricing, they do have a personal and family plan. It starts at as low as $3 per month, and then they have the family plan, which is $4.99 a month. It's fairly similar to Lastpass in terms of pricing, and you can try it for free for 14 days. I would say personally, I do think it is a better value, better option than Lastpass because they're about the same price. I do think their interface is better. It's a little bit more secure than Lastpass, and it's certainly cheaper than Dashlane. So right off the bat, one thing to notice with OnePass here is that it is going to right off the bat try to have you put in your credit card information because it wants you to pay for the paid plan after you use the trial. You do have to go all the way to the bottom and click on create account and add card later if you don't want to immediately be signed up for the paid plan. So just keep that in mind. That's a sales tactic that the other ones did not immediately prompt me for, but they do with OnePass. Now there's a PDF that's going to prompt you to download from the start here. Invite your family. We can skip that for now. And here is the actual interface. Now, again, off the bat, I've got a 14-day trial. It's just prompting me to add my payment details. But I'm going to go ahead and look at what I can do for now. I can go ahead and create my new vault. Create this as a test vault. And in here, now I can go ahead and start adding my passwords. So we're going to go here. This is my personal vault. Let me just run back to the front here at the home screen. Here's my vault, my test vault that I've created. If I click on it, this is where I'm going to have all my passwords. And all I have to do is go down here and click on the plus option. And you can see there's a lot of different things. I will say that compared to some of the other options here, they have probably one of the more comprehensive lists of different things that you can add here. Everything up to like a wireless router, rewards programs, all of that. So I can just go ahead and do a quick login. Test, username, and a password. Of course, you can generate a password here. Fine-tune that. You can have it use words if you want as well. So that's pretty cool. Shows your password strength. Okay, and then we can save it. You can see the web form details here. I can also star this if I want to save it for later. And the other nice thing here is all I have to do is, so if at any time I want to edit this, I just click on the edit option. Another thing too with fields is I can go ahead and click on test. Test 2. I can actually create these new fields here by just going ahead and putting in something in the new field section. Save this. And so this is pretty cool because what I can actually do here, you can actually change the type of field and see what the label is. And if I wanted this to be, for example, a phone field, change that to a phone field. I could change this to a URL field. So you can create custom fields here for whatever kind of content you want. My favorites are in the favorites section here, and then I have my watchtower here. So then you have your watchtower here that gives you an overall view of the password strength of all your passwords and content. Now, one cool thing here, I'm actually scanning in my QR code to get access to everything on my mobile device. Okay, so just really quick, now that I'm signed in after I use the QR codes, that's something that I thought was really cool with OnePass. Again, you can sign in using a QR code, and it requires a secret key just to connect from the mobile app. So it's probably one of the most secure services. There's a lot of security that goes into how you access your account from your mobile device, from your desktop device, and whatever way that you're trying to access everything. I think the interface looks really good. You have the ability to kind of fine-tune everything here. Easy ability when I'm editing from the mobile device. I can easily add websites, but again, easily add different fields here, which is really nice. Easily add different sections. A lot of customization options available here. You have different categories that you can have everything kind of fall under, and that's all available under the category section. Different tags are available as well. And then in the settings section, tons of different options to fine-tune. And again, this is not fully web like LastPass is. It is syncing your information back and forth. So there's, again, more security going into this than just accessing your content that could be easily attacked or revealed, like with LastPass, where someone can actually compromise the service and therefore your credentials are compromised. Okay, so if we go to the category section here, we can go ahead and click on the plus option, and we can click on a login to create a new login here. Super easy, and you can do the same thing if you want to create any of these different types of information, whether it's just a unique password or whatever it is. So I really like the interface of the mobile app and the desktop app for OnePass. They have an extension just like LastPass has with many of these similar features. They have a desktop app that you can use. And again, the amount of different options here are definitely pretty complex. There's a lot of different things that they've considered here, like crypto wallets, for example, is definitely not something I've seen in a lot of the other options here. The only con for me for OnePass or 1Password in general is really just two things, actually. So number one, the biggest thing is the price. I will say that there is a little bit more complexity to using this. So if you're someone who's not super tech savvy, it may be more complicated to set up your account with 1Password than some of these other services. And again, it's kind of mid-tier in the pricing bucket. It's under $40 per year if you're doing the monthly plan for just the basic option, which really isn't too bad, especially for the amount of features that you get. I do think it's reasonably priced, but if you're going with something like Roboform, for example, which is $16 per year, it's about less than half the price with the link in my description, or also some of the other options that are out there definitely have some cheaper plans as well. Finally, guys, we've got one more password manager to talk about here, and it's KeePass. Now, with KeePass, the thing that's so unique here is this is, number one, a completely free tool. You can see that there are quite a few options here. So I can go in here and I can just create like a new credential here with whatever information that I want. There's a lot of customization options that are available here within KeePass, but it's a very simple interface. It's not the prettiest option of the ones that you're going to see here. It gives you some basic stuff just to begin with, but I can go in here and I can create new groups, and I can change the icon for those groups. The other thing that's unique with this particular service is when I open up one of these credentials here, I can also type in custom auto type segments here. So for example, if I wanted to auto type in the username and password, I can have it automatically do it, or I can also manually put in different variables here. And so you can really kind of, from a tech perspective, get very advanced with what you want this to enter here. So you can also trigger it to use the tab, which is pretty cool, because if you have a particular form, you can have it just put in, 100 different pieces of information and tab in between all those different fields without even having to specify. You can manually put in information that you wanted to fill. So it's really complex, but it is not the best option for someone who's not very tech savvy. There's a lot of fine tuning that goes into customizing the auto typing, customizing the fields in here, because you can add whatever number of custom fields that you want. And the other thing too is this is an open source product, which is really good because you're never going to have to pay for the service, but it also means that there's not a dedicated mobile application. Now I'm going to show you just a free mobile application that's available for KeePass, so you can see kind of what it looks like. But just keep in mind that there's a lot of different options when it comes to the mobile app. So I'm actually going to just show you a few of the different mobile apps. So instead of going into the actual app itself, what I'm just going to do is show you what I'm talking about here. If I go into the Play Store, you can see the number of different mobile apps that are available because, again, this is an open source software. So there are many different people that create different versions of mobile apps for KeePass that are compatible. And so what you can do, you get basically this file that's saved onto your computer, and that file is the database for KeePass. So here is one of the apps that you can use. You can see it shows all of the details and data for all your passwords, how it's organized with all your folders. You can see all of the details here. There is password generators built into a lot of these. And then the ways that you can sync this information, you can use Dropbox to sync it, or Google Drive, or OneDrive, or whatever you want. But there's a lot of these apps available. So it's not one specific app. It's whatever you want to use, because all these apps have to do is be compatible with the KeePass database. You can see some of them are not the prettiest looking apps. Some of them are going to look better than others. Me personally, the one that I use is this KeePass one here, and this is the prettiest, I'll call it, of the apps that are available. So here you can see that it actually gives you a more premium look and feel compared to some of the other ones here. It does look like a dedicated password manager app, whereas the other ones look very basic. They don't look super pretty. Now you can customize the color scheme in this particular one. And this is actually the one that I've used for my particular business to see all of my passwords for my company on my mobile device. So you can see it's got like a dark mode in here. And you do have the ability to fill forms in mobile apps or in mobile browsers. So a lot of different mobile apps available for KeePass because it's open source. But again, how much the developer is going to support these apps can vary. So just keep in mind that support for any of these could end at any point in time. And feature-wise, it's not going to be as comprehensive as some of the other services that I've talked about here. But the biggest advantage is, again, it's completely free. It's completely open source. You can choose how you want to sync the information or not. If you want to just have the file local on your device, you can do that so that it's never in the cloud anywhere. Okay, guys, so I just wanted to give you, again, a really good overview of all the different top 5 password managers that are out there. I'll have links in the description to all of these different services, affiliate links for those where it applies, as well as an affiliate link in there for Privacy VPN if you're interested in using a VPN service. Thanks again to Roboform for sponsoring this video, and definitely recommend that you guys check them out specifically. Again, they have a really great service, and more importantly than anything else, they're a service that I have not seen a lot of mention about, where I think that they truly do deserve to be mentioned as one of the top password managers out there with their pricing and the amount of features that they have available, as well as the security of their service. That's it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. But otherwise, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.